Guess what? If you live in Norway, you've already used a product we built, but never knew it. The 99X Group has established itself as a leader in product engineering services, web solutions, and sourcing tech experts. We have built a solid foundation, and now 7 companies from Norway, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Brazil, and Portugal combine to form a tech powerhouse. The 99X Group serves clients in Norway, Sweden, Germany, across Europe, and North America. With over 600 employees worldwide, we are set to become one of the industry's most sought-after tech players. What sets us apart is our combination of local presence, global access to talent, and proven capability of delivering value with multinational teams. We attract the top 1% of tech talent with a passion for deep tech innovation. This enables our customers to create exceptional product experiences, to rapidly scale their own teams with top-tier local and nearshore engineering talent, and to build appealing web solutions and business-critical systems. "99X. Boost your digital potential."
Good evening, everyone. Hi, I'm Tivinya. I will be your host for the day. Welcome back to the day 2 of Quality Week 2025. We had an incredible first day filled with insightful discussions, and today promises to be just as exciting. Before we start, we would like to take a moment to recognize and appreciate our valued sponsors who helped to make this event possible. First, a big thank you to 99X, our strategic partner. 99X is a leader in digital product engineering, empowering businesses with innovative solutions and cutting-edge technology. We also extend our gratitude to our educational partner, SLSTB, the globally recognized authority in software testing certification. Their commitment to quality and excellence helps shape the future of software professionals worldwide. So without further ado, we'll start with our first session. It is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Dulanga Veragam. Dulanga is an ISTQB certified tester in agile testing with over 7 years of experience in software testing domain. Holding a BSc honors in software engineering from the University of Plymouth, he specialized in manual and automation testing, particularly in Cypress. One of Dulanga's key areas of expertise is accessibility testing, ensuring that digital experiences are inclusive for all users. Today, he will be speaking on usability and accessibility testing. Let's give a warm welcome to Dulanga Veragam.
Yeah, thank you, Tivinya. Let me share my screen. I hope you guys can see my screen and I'm audible. Can anyone confirm?
Yes.
Okay, sure. Thanks for that. And yes, as Tivinia mentioned, I am Duranga Veragama, and I'm a senior software quality assurance engineer uh, with over 7 years of experience in software testing. Actually, as mentioned, I used to give certified agile tester. So I used to work at Sana Commerce and currently work at Electronic Partner. So today my session is about breaking boundaries, accessibility testing for inclusive digital experiences. So what is this session will be covering? This I will cover. We will explore usability and accessibility testing, why they matter and their impact on digital experiences. Discuss common challenges that organizations face in implementing accessibility, and learn practical strategies to improve digital inclusivity. So we will dive into real world case studies to understand how accessibility challenges are addressed and how the business get benefit from them. And also I will be showing some quick demos will showcase practical accessibility testing techniques in action. So as time permit. So also what you will gain from this session, you will get actionable insight that you can apply immediately to your projects. So the deeper understanding of how integrating accessibility into your testing process. So awareness of tools and techniques that can help make digital products more inclusive. So by end of this talk, you will have a clear roadmap to enhance usability and accessibility in your own development and testing workflows. So let's dive into slides. So uh, what is actually accessibility testing is? So accessibility testing is a non-functional software testing process that ensure websites, applications, and digital products are usable by people with disabilities. So including those with visual, hearing, motor, and cognitive impairments. So it helps create inclusive user-friendly experience by identifying and removing barriers that could prevent equal access to information and functionality. So what are these impairments? So there are a few key impairments we are considering when performing the accessibility testing. We are considering about visual impairments like blindness, color blindness, or low vision. So then we have hearing impairments like deafness, so hard of hearing. So then we have motor disabilities. So this kind of users uh, find it difficult to use a mouse. So they are basically relies on a keyboard to navigate through a website or whatever the digital product is. So then we have cognitive impairments like memory limitation. So as testers, we often use assistive technologies to simulate real users' experiences, such as we are using screen readers. I will be showing some demos on that, for example, like NVDA and VoiceOver. So we use keyboard navigation to impersonate users with motor disabilities. So we use screen magnifiers for impersonate low vision users, and we use speech recognition software to convert spoken words into written text. Why accessibility matter? So accessibility is not just a technical requirement, but it is an ethical responsibility. So ensuring everyone has equal access to digital platform promote digital inclusion, which aligns with the principle that technology should empower, not exclude. So also there are some legal and business importance behind this. So in many pages there are some rules so that failure to meet accessibility standards can result in lawsuits. And then business value, accessibility product improve user experience when audience reach and wide audience reach and enhance brand reputation. So wide audience reach means more profits, right? So in addition to that, since most of you are QA engineers and related to software testing field, recently I have asked from ChatGPT, as for ChatGPT, how do you see about the future of software quality assurance engineer? So one of the key points provided by ChatGPT was that accessibility testing is a key trend in the future of software QA field. So moving to next slide. So we have some example of accessibility testings here. These are not all the method that we can follow, but Yes, a few highlights. So we perform color contrast testing and text alternatives. We are checking for alter text and proper heading structure and keyboard navigation. So what is color contrast? Color contrast is text color contrast against the background to meet WCG standards. So what is WCG? WCG, you will hear that word many times in this presentation, throughout presentation. So WCG is Web Content Accessibility Guideline. So it has provided some contrast ratio guidelines to assure. So if I be specific, it is like a 4.5 to 1 contrast ratio for normal text and 3 point something to large text. For for theory part, let me show you some real world example. Here, I have created this image here. So can you see there's a button here and there's a as well button text also there. So it is very difficult to read, right? So even for a normal user, it is very difficult to read. So that's why, that is because there's here color contrast ratio is not matched. So I can check that this manually, and as well as I can use a tool to check this. Let me quickly show a tool for this. I will take this Accessibility Insight for Web, and I will quickly go for this pass option, and it will quickly run through my web page. Since I have created this page with color contrast issues, it will quickly find those issues. And if I click on here, it will explain me what is the issue, and it will also suggest me the fix for that as well. So here say use foreground color like this and original background color of this. So that way you can fix that issue. So that's how color contrast is impacting. So next we have text alternatives. These text alternatives are providing descriptive alter text for images, enabling screen reader users to understand visual content completely. So these screen reader users, I mean, especially for these blind users, they are heavily depend on these alternative text. For that as well, I have created a separate web page with one image is with alter text and the other images without alter text. So let me run this. There's a software called NVDA. This is mainly for Windows, and for Mac OS you have
welcome to
like,
NVDA. Welcome to NV. OK. Demo image alt WCAG. Get zoom and tool speech viewer. Demo
so here
NVDA
what
NVDA speech viewer.
NVDA.
Show speech
So
test list
let me
2.
access these images with NVDA.
Caps lock off. Test unlabeled graphic.
So here I have focused to the first image, but it does not have any alternative text. So see how screen reader user can heard about that.
Blank.
Say blank, unlabeled graphic.
Clickable main landmark hover image.
And clickable main landmark.
Top-down view of an elegant tea setting with a glass teapot of Earl Grey, teacups, sugar cubes, loose leaf tea, and an assortment of sweet and savory treats, including macarons, cupcakes, and cucumber sandwiches on a marble surface. Graphic.
So that's the image that I have provided alter text. So here what it has mentioned is the alter text I have provided, so that user with blindness so can understand completely what is in that image. So let me
exit NVDA.
And moving to next point, we have a proper heading structure. So in here, ensure logical and hierarchical heading structure like H1, H2, H3 to improve content navigation and comprehension, especially for screen reader users. So when you see that heading structures, you should always go to H1, H2, H3, and always in the sense there's a no hard and fast rule. You have to go to H1 to H2, H3. You can start from H2, then H3 and H4, but you should not skip headings in between. So if you start with H1, you should go with H2, not with H3, H1 to H3. So let me quickly demonstrate again another website. This is a website related to some museum. So I found to this on the internet. So let me not fast. This time I'm going to use this ad hoc tools, and I'm going to check for headings. So as you can see here, they have used a proper heading structure. They have started with H1, then followed by H2, H3, and finally they had H4. So this is how they use this proper heading structure. So then finally, last but not least, we have keyboard navigation. I mean, like users with some users are using keyboard, users who can't use mouse. So they are really depending on this keyboard navigation. Let me quickly go back to my examples and demonstrate you how to navigate with the keyboard. Here I'm using a tab key to navigate through the my right hand is here. I'm not using mouse. I am using this keyboard tab key to navigate through this content. So if I want to go backward, I have to use shift with tab key, shift plus tab key. So I can go backward. So likewise, I can go to forward that backward. So theory in here is all the clickable elements should be able to access through keyboard. So as you can see, there is a focus indicator here. So the user can clearly see where the current focus is. So something should have. So common issues when we facing using this with keyboard users, sometimes there are missing tab indexes and inaccessible drop down. So this kind of issues are there. So moving down to next slide, we have already covered this, and then we have why accessibilities matter. So as per the World Health Organization, over 1 billion people worldwide live with disabilities. So these include visual, auditory, motor, and cognitive impairments. So accessibility ensure that no one is excluded from using digital products. So the importance of inclusive design ensure equitable access and usability for all users. It enhances user experience for everyone, not just those with disabilities. So accessible products are often easier to use for all users, improving engagement. Again, improved user experience means more profit for the business. So as I mentioned earlier, there are some compliance background as well. So accessibility testing follows well-defined global standard ensure inclusivity. So WCG has provided some detailed guideline for this, developed by W3C organization. It provides a structured framework to make content accessible. So if I mention about legal regulation on accessibility, there are some acts. One is ADA. ADA means American with Disabilities Act, and Section 508 US Federal Standard, both applicable for US region. And then in the UK, they have Equality Act, and EN 301549 is applicable for European region. So if you are making application targeting these regions, you may have to consider about these things as well. So moving down to next slide, we have common accessibility challenges. So common barriers include non-descriptive alter text, and then we have poor keyboard navigation support and inadequate color contrast. So non-descriptive missing alter text for images. Screen reader users rely on alter text to understand images, as you have already seen. So poor missing description lead to information losses. So poor keyboard navigation support as well. Some websites and applications require mouse, making the inaccessible for users with motor impairments. So lack of focus indicators, improper tab index, and keyboard traps are major issues in that keyboard users are facing. So inadequate color contrast, you have already seen about that. So when it comes to organizational challenges, lack of awareness or prioritization is a main concern we have. Also, many teams use accessibility as optional rather than it is essential. So it is often overlooked in early development and treated as an afterthought. So misalignment between teams is also a problem. Developers, designers, and testers may lack coordination on accessibility effort. So without clear ownership and accountability, this can't be done. Accessibility effects will be persistent. So moving down to next slide. So here we have some success stories and case studies. So this one is from North America. So this one goes to down to COVID-19 pandemic area. Thus, the COVID-19 pandemic accelerated the need of accessibility digital solutions. So in healthcare, with more patients relying on online healthcare service to accessible become critical priority. So what they have done is they have improved the screen reader support for visual impaired users, adjustable display settings for better readability, and voice control feature to improve hands-free navigation. So measurable income and outcomes that these enhance led to increased digital document usage among the patients and higher patient satisfaction score due to improved usability, and strength provides reputation by demonstrating inclusive innovation. So accessibility is no longer a nice to have feature, it is must have for the future of healthcare. Then we have this example from e-commerce side. So Tesco is the market leader for groceries in the UK. They have an issue with Tesco's website was hard to use for some people, especially those who can't see well. So they wanted to fix this so everyone could shop easily. So they have partnered with RNIB. RNIB is a Royal National Institute for Blind People. So RNIB is British charity founded in 1868 that serves people living with visual impairments. So they have added screen reader support, easy to use menus, and simple language to make online shopping accessible to everyone. So you will be amazed with the result. The improvement led to remarkable result of 350% of increase in their online sales. So again, business getting benefits, not only the users. So here we have some tools and technologies for accessibility testing. So there are some AI powered tools like Google Lighthouse, Accessibility Insight Pro Web, XDev tools, and screen readers we have already covered. I have shown a quick demo with NVDA. NVDA specifically for Windows, and VoiceOver is for macOS. Then we have code validators like W3C validator for HTML and CSS text. So if you can paste a link over there for the website, or you can paste direct HTML there. They are providing the output based on the your input. What are the issues you are having in your code? So automation framework is also the thing. Cypress is a very popular automation framework these days. You can integrate Expo with Cypress, so that you can run it with your nightly build and you can easily identify the issues. Let me quickly show you one demo with this Google Lighthouse. This Google Lighthouse is also available as a Chrome extension. It will maybe take some time to run through this page. So I'll just start this and I will move to next slide, and I will then at the end I will show the report. So make sure that device is desktop and only select this accessibility since we are focusing on accessibility. So I will click this analyze page load and it will do the thing. And then in the meantime, I will move into my slide and just continue there. At the end, I will show the report. So then we have practical accessibility testing strategies. So we have already covered about manual testing, include keyboard only navigation, screen reader testing, and color contrast verification. So when it comes to automation, why automate accessibility testing? So it catches successfully issues early in the development process, ensure compliance with WCAG and legal standards before release, reduce manual effort, making testing more efficient and consistent. So the earlier we identify the issues, it is very cheap to fix. So, and then we have enabling accessibility in agile workflows, since most of us using agile framework these days. So for accessibility to be effective, it should be integrated throughout the product life cycle, not treated as an afterthought. So in if you can insert something like this in your acceptance criteria, for example, as a visual impaired user, I should be able to navigate the website using only keyboard. At Asana Commerce, we used to do that, and we have developed most of our areas with accessibility. So So then we have conduct accessibility reviews during sprints, review designs and implementation early and frequently, identify and fix accessibility barriers before they become major issues. So collaborate across teams, ensure developers, designers, and testers work together to accessibility. Use shared accessibility exists and tools. So by integrating automated accessibility testing in agile accessibility best practices, teams can create inclusive accessibility and legally compliant digital experiences. So moving down to next slide. Overcoming challenges. So first thing is building awareness. So conduct workshop and training sessions to educate teams on accessibility. So, sessions like that. So highlight real user stories and case studies to demonstrate the impact of accessibility barriers and how the business getting benefit from them. So encourage teams to experience accessibility challenges firsthand. So ask them to access a website only with keyboard and try to close your eyes and understand the website with screen reader. So you will feel the difference. And fostering collaboration, ensure QA developers and designers work together from the start and establish cross-functional accessibility views during sprints, promote the use of shared accessibility guidelines and best practices. So advocating resources, secure budget for accessibility tools such as automated testing tools like Axco, and NVIDIA is actually a free tool. It's open source, and there are plenty of other paid tools as well to perform this accessibility testing. So provide accessibility training for development and testing teams, ensure leadership understand the business and legal benefits of accessibility. So these three-step building awareness, fostering collaboration, and advocating for resources are critical for overcoming the accessibility challenges and ensuring becomes a core part of development process. So this next we have innovative trends in accessibility. Of course, AI is there. The evaluation of accessibility testing. So accessibility testing is advancing rapidly with AI and machine learning. So tools are becoming more intelligent and proactive in detecting issues. The shift is towards predictive and user-centric testing approach. So key innovation in accessibility testing. So AI-powered accessibility testing, AI and machine learning help identify complex accessibility issues, improve contextual understanding, reducing the positive and automation testing. So modern development framework like React and Angular now these days now have built-in accessibility features. So teams are doing shift left practices and embedding accessibility into the development process from the start, not at the right, but the beginning in the left side. So then there's something called user feedback driven testing. Direct real world insight from users with disabilities are sharpening accessibility improvements. So more inclusive disability testing is being conducted during product development now. So the future of the accessibility testing, the industry is moving towards proactive and predictive accessibility testing. So accessibility is no longer an afterthought. It become a core requirement in software development. By combining AI, automation, and user feedback, we can create truly inclusive digital experiences. So, and seems like a site is duplicated. So we have here key takeaways. So ensure inclusivity, ensure digital inclusivity and equality for users, including those with disabilities. This helps remove barriers and create a seamless user experience for everyone. So combine testing methods. Combining manual testing, example, keyboard navigation, screen reader testing with automation tools create comprehensive strategy. Always try to combine automation with manual testing. Not just don't rely with one thing. So manual testing capture user experience issues while automation help identify common violations at scale. So utilizing tools. So existing accessibility tools like Expo, Google Lighthouse, Wave, and Accessibility Insight streamline testing. So these tools help teams identify, track, and fix accessibility issues with efficiency. Uh, uh, the business and user benefits. So improve overall user experience, making product easier to use for everyone. Again, if the product is user friendly, it will be helpful for the business. So expanded audience reach by ensuring content is accessible to wider range of users. To also reduce legal risk by ensuring compliance with accessibility standards like WCAG, ADA, Section 508, etc. So by embedding accessibility into our development process, we can create better, more inclusive digital experiences with also driving business value. We have covered a lot of ground today, accessibility testing best practices. Now I would like to hear from you and open the floor for your questions and insights. In the meantime, let me show you that report generated by Google Lighthouse. Yes, that report generated by Google Lighthouse. It's got some errors. Maybe since we have closed that slide, let me run this again. So, any questions, guys?
Thank you so much, Dulanga, for that valuable and insightful session. So now it's time for the Q&A session. First question for you, Dulanga, is, as per your experience, how much help we can get to detect accessibility issues with tools such as XDev tools, Lighthouse?
Actually, I haven't used much XDev tools, but this Lighthouse is a very much useful product. Since it is currently running, we can show the result with XDev tools, not accessibility, but actually Lighthouse. So this Lighthouse is one of the initial tool we have used to identify the accessibility issues with our product. So let me open this Lighthouse report and show you. Here it has 85% of accessibility percentage. So here it has identified these issues in this website I have used to test. So this said button do not have an accessible name, links do not have stream name, background and foreground color do not have sufficient contrast ratio. This area roles to incomplete elements, so something like that. So in my advice is this are good to identify, quickly scan the websites, but I'm always recommended to build awareness and do it manually. So always combine those things with manual testing.
And your next question is, if project has a requirement for proper testing reporting, how to map each web content accessibility guideline, WCAG, with the results we are getting from these various tools?
My advice is stick to don't try to use every tool. There are so many tools out there that you can use to do this accessibility testing. There are some guidelines with WCG like level 2, 3, and I remember level 2, 3. So first identify what is the level that you are going to implement the accessibility. So try to match that level, and maybe you are not able to cover everything, so try to cover as much as possible. In my experiences, no site has match 100% coverage, but they have improved as much as possible.
There are two more questions. How does your company leverage AI tools to enhance accessibility testing? And can AI tools be fully relied upon the accessibility testing, or is manual testing still necessary?
Yeah, I would say manual testing is still necessary. So as I previously mentioned, these tools can be used to identify these issues quickly. They can use to scan through the website. So the best way is to combine those with manual approach as well.
Thank you so much once again, Dulanga, for your valuable and insightful session. It would be great if you could answer the rest of the questions in the Q&A session. Thank you.
Okay, I answer through the chat itself. Here's my thank you for your time and valuable questions, and I truly appreciate your engagement and interest in this topic. So yes, you can be in contact with me. So I would love to continue the conversation here. Here's how you can reach me. So my personal email address is this@gmail.com, and also you can find me on LinkedIn with under name of Dulanga Veragama. And I am always open to feedback. If you have additional thoughts, insight, or feedback, don't hesitate to reach me out. And if you have any questions, put on the chat. I will respond to them, and maybe send them email or send a message on LinkedIn. So I thought you found this presentation valuable and insightful. Let's keep working towards more inclusive and accessible digital experiences. So looking forward to stay in touch with and continue discussion. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. So next we move to our second session. The speakers will be Buddhika Tilakaratne and Sanet Abekon from eBuilder. Buddhika Tilakaratne is a software quality assurance architect at eBuilder with over 15 years of experience in the quality assurance industry. With extensive expertise in manual testing and test automation, Buddhika has proven track record of designing and implementing efficient QA strategies that ensure the delivery of high-quality software solutions. Sanit Abekon currently works at eBuilder as a QA lead, bringing over 12 years of industry experience, specializing in software quality assurance and software test automation. He has worked across all stages of the software quality assurance process, from planning and designing to execution and continuous improvement. His expertise in QA and test automation has ensured delivery of high-quality software across multiple projects. Today, they will be speaking on an essential topic, advancing quality assurance through extended unit testing for data pipelines. Over to you, Buddhika and Sanit.
Thank you, Tivini. Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. So I will share my screen now.
We can see.
Thank you. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to this session, Advancing Quality Assurance for Data Pipelines through Extended Unit Testing. Before I dive deep into how we test our data pipeline, first let me give you a small overview of our business solution which use the data pipeline. In eBuilder, we have a business solution where we gather device and user data from our SDK embedded to smartphone devices, and we use the collected data and also a machine learning to predict two key things. First one is who are the users who are likely to upgrade their devices in the next 30 days. And the second prediction is what are the most likely model and brand the users are going to upgrade to. So then we send these predictions to sales and marketing teams for their marketing campaigns. So now let's look at the architecture of the data pipeline, which makes all this possible. So here you can see the architecture of our data pipeline. Please note that this is only a high-level representation of our data pipeline. Our data pipeline follows the structured ETL process where we collect, process, analyze, and utilize data. So let me walk you through the main sections of our data pipeline in very high level. First, we have the data collection phase. There we extract device and user data from our SDKs, our SDK continues to capture key events from the mobile devices and then transmits them to our cloud storage via AWS services. And during this stage, we have some quality verify the accuracy of the data we get before our data enters the processing pipeline. And next, our data enters our data pipeline. Here, our data pipeline can be divided into two parts, data engineering and machine learning. So in data engineering, what happens is the stored data is validated, transformed, and enriched using AWS Glue. And then we also have feature engineering to extract meaningful insights, which we are going to use in our machine learning process. Additionally, we also have some quality checks in this stage as well to verify the data accuracy and completeness. And during this stage, after the processing, we store our data in S3 buckets for easy accessibility and for querying and analyzing purposes too. And after that, we move into the machine learning stage, where the process data is used to train models to predict the two key predictions I mentioned before. That is the users who are likely to upgrade their devices within next 30 days, and also what are the most likely models and brands they're going to upgrade to. So we use tools like H2O AI and Amazon SageMaker to build our models. And after the insights are generated, we have campaign delivery, where the generated insights are exported to platforms like Google and Facebook for their marketing campaigns. And then finally, in business intelligence report, the generated insights from our machine learning process is stored and visualized in the dashboard. So now you have an understanding of our data pipeline. So let's look into details on how to test the data pipeline. So first, before testing a data pipeline, we need to understand the data pipeline. By understanding, I mean you need to have full knowledge on how do you get data to your data pipeline and how the data flows through various stages of the pipeline, and also what is the final output of your pipeline going to be. So once you have a good understanding of your pipeline, then you need to identify the testing scope of the pipeline. So in testing scope, I mean you have to decide whether you're going to test the entire pipeline or are you going to focus on certain parts of the pipeline. So let me talk about our experience. In eBuilder, following agile practices and working as a cross-functional team, our team collectively decided that the QA team will take the responsibility of testing the data engineering part of our pipeline. decision was made based on expertise and efficiency. Some of you may know machine learning testing is not like traditional QA, where we have the actual and expected outputs predefined. In machine learning, there are different testing techniques like A/B testing, cross-validation, and drift detection, which the QAs are not very familiar with. So, given these complexities, it was decided that the data scientist will take the ownership of testing the data machine learning part of our data pipeline, and the QA team will focus on testing the data engineering part of the pipeline. So while testing the data engineering part of our pipeline, we made sure that the data quality is maintained throughout the pipeline. We validated the completeness, consistency, and also the integrity of the data throughout the pipeline. And also we made sure that the transformation is working correctly in the pipeline. And then after you have identified the scope, we can start defining test scenarios for our pipeline. We all know that well-defined test cases will help us identify failures before they move to production environment. As we are handling a lot of data, in the data pipeline, there are certain areas which we should be really careful when defining test scenarios. So let's look at those areas. First one is data quality. We need to make sure the data is complete, accurate, and consistent throughout our data pipeline. And while defining scenarios, we need to consider about schema validations as well. We need to make sure that the schema changes will not break our pipeline. And another one important thing is edge case handling, where in the real world scenario, our data pipeline can break with the real time data coming in. Okay, so that's about defining scenarios. We need to decide on an appropriate testing type for our data pipeline. So, of course, this will depend on your project requirement. There are various testing types we can do for our data pipeline. For example, there is unit testing, where you can test individual components of the pipeline. And then there's schema testing, where we test whether data structure matches the expectation. Then there's also data integrity, where we check for accuracy of data across all stages of the pipeline. And then there's performance testing, where we check for resource utilization, latency, and in a data pipeline. And we can also do end-to-end testing, where we check the data pipeline from start to finish. So after deciding on what is the testing type you're going to do, then we have to select the right tool to do that test. So, for example, there are popular tools in the market like Great Expectations, where you can use to validate data quality. And you can use tools like DBT to test SQL-based data pipeline. And also, if you're going for unit testing, you can use unit testing frameworks like PyTest or JUnit. And if you're doing API level testing, then we can use Postman or so likewise, following these steps will ensure that we can test the framework correctly, and also we can test the transformation in the pipeline smoothly as well. So as I've talked about different types of testing we can use for data pipelines, now let's see what is the testing approach we used to test our pipeline at eBuilder. So we use unit testing to do our test our pipeline. So unit testing is where we test individual unit or function and validate that it works as expected. We used the unit testing framework PyTest to test our data pipeline. By using this approach, we were able to achieve just more than unit testing. Let me explain how. So using the PyTest framework, we verified that the individual components are working in isolation. And at the end, when we ran all the tests together, and it became an end-to-end testing of the pipeline as well. So with this approach, we were able to verify the functionality of individual features in isolation. And also, we were able to check the interaction between the features are working as expected too. So by using up for unit testing and also for end-to-end testing for some extent, I say we were able to achieve three key benefits. One is catching errors at the source level itself before it impacted the downstream process. And we were also able to make sure that the components are working on its own without any dependencies with other features. And also we were able to make sure that our pipeline is working without any issues and it is stable. So that's about unit testing. So let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so I think that we are working with a lot of mobile data in our data pipeline. So we get a lot of various data for our data pipeline. For example, we get data from various device types, various network conditions, and various OS types, so forth. So such type of data, we had to take a step further from unit testing and do extended unit testing of our data set. Let me explain how we did it. So let's start with comprehensive test coverage first. So here we made sure that our pipeline could handle expected as well as unexpected data. So here we tested multiple file formats, whether our pipeline can handle multiple file formats, and also we tested structured and also unstructured data. And then we checked whether our pipeline could handle various schema changes happening from OS version upgrades and device changes. And another important type would be to test how we can handle edge cases. So this is where things can go wrong in a real environment. So we tested null values happening from missing device parameters and also corrupted data coming to us due to failed transmissions. And then we get duplicate records from app precinct. And then there are some mismatches where we tested all of them. And then finally, there's data variety we need to consider. As I told you earlier, with mobile data, we get data from various device models, like from flagship models to budget phones. And then we get data from different OS versions, like from Android to iOS, and also the latest OS versions to old ones. And there are data we tested data from various network conditions as well, like from 5G, 4G, and also to unstable 3G also. So that's how we did extended unit testing. And with that, it concludes my discussion on extended unit testing. So to take things forward from here, I will now hand it over to Sanet. Over to you, Sanet.
Thank you, Buddhika. Up to now, we talked about the testing challenge we had to address and why we selected extended unit testing as a solution. And next, we are going to talk about how we approach extended unit testing. And we have selected data-driven testing method. So why data-driven testing? So when it comes to unit testing, data intensive applications like data pipelines, we need to test the functions involved in the data pipelines with all the possible data inputs, because in a data flow we receive wide range of data, from valid expected data to invalid corrupted data. So therefore we need to ensure the functions involved in the data pipeline work as expected for all the scenarios. So to approach that type of testing, data-driven testing is the ideal method, because that allows us to separate test data from the test logic, and the same test logic can be reused with the different sets of input data or different sets of input parameters. And on the other hand, data-driven tests are highly extensible, because for example, if we need to expand our test coverage with new test cases, the all we need to do is just update our test data sets. So during execution, the new test cases will be covered. And code duplication is also reduced with data-driven testing, because the same test case can be executed with multiple sets of test data. So we can keep our test code clean and simple. So considering these factors, we have selected data-driven testing method, and now we have a proper approach for extended unit testing. The next step is to determine how to implement data-driven tests with our unit testing framework, that is PyTest. So why PyTest for data-driven testing? Actually, PyTest has some features that are particularly useful for data-driven testing, like parameterization, fixtures, PyTest generate test method. So when it comes to a parameterization, that allows us to separate test data from the test logic. Actually, this is the most common feature we use to implement data-driven tests. And fixtures are used to manage dependencies for the test, like test data generation, database connections, session initializations. So these dependencies will be resolved by fixtures before executing the test. So with the help of fixtures, we can set up more dynamic test environments. And PyTest generate test also a special method available in PyTest that dynamically generates test cases at the runtime based on the provided test data. So because of these reasons, PyTest becomes the best fit for implementing data-driven tests. And next, we are going to talk about identifying test cases for what is to be tested. Here, first we need to look at the test scenarios that we need to cover. So this includes individual functions and their integrated scenarios. Normally, unit testing validates whether the individual functions work as expected, and when it comes to integrated unit testing, it validates whether the functions work as expected when they combine together in an integrated way. So for example, in a data pipeline, one function's output can serve as the input to another function. So in an actual data pipeline, there may be more complex integration scenarios. In such cases, integrated unit testing is very important and plays a crucial role. So after identifying test scenarios, then we can focus on identifying test cases for them. And finally, we can have a separate test case matrix for each individual function and the integrated scenario that we are going to cover. And based on the test case matrices, we can start preparing test data. Okay, so as the next step, we can focus on implementing a data-driven test with PyTest. First, when it comes to preparing test data for parameterization, without hard coding test data in the test code, we can maintain them in separate files like CSV or JSON files, because sometimes we need to deal with very large test data sets. So storing them in separate files enhances the maintainability, especially in the long run. And we can use fixtures to retrieve data from the files at the runtime. And finally, we can to implement data-driven test with PyTest. We use appropriate features like parameterization, fixtures, the PyTest generate test method, or a combination of multiple features based on the scenario. So as a result, a separate test case will be generated and executed at the runtime for each set of input parameters. So that is about the test implementation phase. And when we move to the test execution phase, we maintain our test environments on AWS SageMaker. We use SageMaker notebook instances. There we have a centralized and interactive programming environment. And we use Jupyter notebooks to implement and execute our tests. Actually, not only test execution, test implementation is also done on AWS SageMaker. The development team and the QA team both can collaborate more effectively with Jupyter notebooks. Yes, so with this session, we want to demonstrate how we ensured quality in a data pipeline, and we used extended unit testing approach with data-driven testing, and as a result, we were able to ensure data integrity, accurate transformation, and seamless integration of data pipeline components. So that's all we have planned for this session. So thank you for joining, and over to you, organizers.
Thank you so much, Buddhika and Sanik. That was an insightful session indeed. So now it's time for the Q&A session. We have received one question. So the first question is, have you done end-to-end testing for the data pipeline apart from unit testing?
Yes, we do end-to-end testing to verify the overall flow of the data pipeline, but unit testing and integration testing should come first, because for example, If we take data transformation scenario as an example, uh, uh, multiple functions, sometimes multiple functions are involved to do the processing and do the transformation from one table to another. In case if there is any issue happens, it is very difficult to identify where to look at and how to debug. So that's why the unit testing and integration testing should come first, and as the next phase, as the next step, we can go to overall end-to-end testing with the data sources level. Yes.
And the next question will be, can we use extended unit testing in pipeline to test memory issues in large data sets?
Well, testing memory issues, I think extended unit testing will not be a very suitable approach, because in extended unit testing, we cover scenarios like where the real world data is mimicked. So it will avoid any breaking of the pipeline due to those kind of issues. So if you want to test the memory leakage of your pipeline, I think it would be better to go for another alternative other than extended unit testing. And so in such a case, I would advise you all to talk to your data engineers and developers and work closely with them and to identify the source of it and what are the approaches you can take from our side as QAs to help detect such an issue.
Question: what are the most common challenges faced in implementing unit tests for data pipeline?
Okay, so that I will answer. Yes. Let me talk about our experience. When we given to test our data pipeline, as we mentioned, it was a Python based. It was written using Python language. So as we were following the approach unit testing, we had the challenge of understanding the code. So as it was, so that was kind of a challenge for us, and it was written in Python language. So we had to learn Python also because we were not very familiar with that language. So we had to learn Python and understand the code. And additionally, we chose the unit testing framework was PyTest. So that was also new to us. So we had to learn PyTest also. So there was a learning curve for us, but in this kind of a testing, I think it is of course understandable. So we had the full support of our team in our scenario. So our case, the data engineers and data scientists were fully supportive to us also. So we got their help also in understanding the code, because they are the ones who will have the most understanding of the data pipeline from start to end. So that was our challenges, and yeah, I think if others are also when testing the data pipeline, those will be the most commonly faced challenges, I think.
Thank you so much, Buddhika and Sanet. For the rest of the questions, it would be great if you all could type in the Q&A section. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, now let's move on to our final speaker of the day, Philip Herrick. Philip is a freelancer DevRel, consultant, tester, and a developer. He's a leading expert in Cypress.io, test automation, an international keynote speaker, and the author of several Cypress workshops that has helped hundreds of testers and developers master web test automation. When he's not teaching, Philip enjoys running, playing guitar, and spending time with his wife and 4 children. Today, he will be discussing how to not to write a flaky test. So let's welcome Philip Herrick to the stage.
Thank you. Thank you very much for this lovely introduction. And thanks for having the opportunity to be part of this wonderful conference. All right, so today we are going to be talking about how to write a flaky test, or maybe more precisely, this presentation is about how to not write a flaky test, or how to get rid of your test flakes, because it makes testing and test automation painful and less enjoyable. You might remember the feeling when you wrote your first UI test, which opened the page and then it clicked through and then it turned all green and you were happy, right? The thing you had to do manually first is now automated, and that's great. I remember the time when I was just starting with test automation, and I would raise my colleague to see if she can go through the critical scenarios manually, or whether I can do the test automation faster, or whether the test automation wins. And over time, we have built the confidence that the test automation is something that will help us, and we will no longer need to do the manual checks. So then we added more and more tests, but something started brewing in the background. Something that started to break our confidence and slowly built up an anxiety about our test automation. We would start trusting our tests less and less and started relying on manual checks again. It almost felt like checking stuff manually was in a way faster again. And this was caused by a single problem: test flakiness. So what is test flakiness? Simply put, test flakiness happens when a test gives you inconsistent results. So if you run your tests 100 times, it should give you the same result. If it doesn't, and there is no known reason for a different result, like a test change or the application change, then it is considered to be flaky. So why does flakiness happen? Well, the easy answer is, well, because things are complicated. Essentially, when we are trying to write end-to-end tests, what we attempt to do is to write a program that automates another program. And you can imagine this as integrating these two systems. One system being your app and the other being your test. I have this illustration here. You can imagine that a good test fits the app like two cogwheels fit together. And when things start to grind, that's when flakiness happens. And this is why we need to talk about test flakiness. It's not only annoying because we need to fix some code, right? Test flakiness has a ripple effect on the whole organization. It may result in loss of confidence in test automation. It may result in more manual work because now you need to check everything manually. It may result in delivery slowdown because you need to rerun the pipeline and developers are waiting. It may result in lost test coverage because now you maybe chose to ignore some tests for now because they're annoying. Execution slowdown because you need to retry. Debugging time when you have CI-related issues that you cannot replicate locally. But most importantly, the impact that flaky tests have is the loss of trust in QA process. And I think this is something that testers might fear right now. As we know, we have the rise of AI and there's ever-present demand on cost cutting, and it's higher than ever. So in my career, I have consulted and collaborated with many companies varying from e-commerce to fintech to SaaS. And I have seen these so-called strategies helping us live with the fact that our tests are flaky. And they're called, so here are some of them, like muting a test, quarantining a test, retrying a test, adding a longer timeout, trying to reproduce a test locally, deleting a test, or as I like to jokingly call them, shock, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. But there's only, there's one that actually works. There's one strategy that actually works, and that's fixing the damn problem, right? Well, of course, fixing a flaky test is easier said than done. And as the test automation grows and you have more and more tests, the problem with flaky tests grow with it. So how do you fix it? So generally, as your project scales, there are three different axes on which the project grows. First of all is test coverage. This means your sheer number of tests. The more tests you have, the bigger problem you will have with your flaky tests. Then there's test execution. So this is more about the way you execute your tests. Usually this means dealing with stuff such as parallelism and pipelines and all that kind of stuff. And then the third axis is the test performance, which points to the speed of how each individual test will execute. And flakiness can occur on any of these axes. So for example, on the x-axis, as the project grows, we deal with randomly occurring issues connected to DOM re-rendering and network-related issues. On the y-axis, as we run our tests in parallel, flakiness can come from stuff like bad test isolation or simply the infrastructure that we're testing on. And then on the z-axis, we mostly deal with performance issues and flakiness connected to how the tests execute. So let's break this down and take a look at why flakiness happens and how it happens on each of these three axes, and of course what to do and how to prevent it from happening. So first let's talk about the first axis and the flakiness that happens and the issues that arise when our test suite grows in number of tests. So let's talk about DOM flakiness first. Something that happens more and more often when your number of tests grows. So consider the following scenario. I have an example here, and this is a Cypress test because I do a lot of Cypress testing, but this is actually true for any kind of test framework. So in this scenario, what we want to do is we want to select a card and assert its text. The card is the white thing where we have like triage found bugs or search for critical bugs. That's the thing. Notice how both of these elements contain the word bugs inside. So looking at the code where we want to assert that the card contains the text bugs, which card are we selecting? Can you guess which one is it? And you might be guessing it's the first one, because what we have here is we have EQ0. We're selecting all of the cards and then we're trying to filter the first one. But the correct answer is we're going to select whichever card will load first. Consider that if at the time of execution of these commands, our app would look something like this. We would still find the card elements, we'd still filter the first one and make our assertion. But now we are testing a different element that we might expect. If we are going to ignore what the application is doing, there's a high chance our test is not doing what we expect, and therefore it's going to lead to flaky test results. And this ties to the graphic that I've shown before, where these two cogwheels start to grind or maybe not even move properly. So what is the solution? Of course, there's no one size fits all, but my personal recommendation would be to add a certain level of determinism in your test. So one solution might be to add assertions in your test that will serve as these checkpoints. So at this point, at a certain checkpoint, these are going to be places where your application and your tests are in complete sync. This will pretty much make sure that the test is not moving too fast or if that the application is not moving too fast, or vice versa. So in this example, we're going to check number of elements. So first, we're going to check number of elements, and then we move on to the next command. So, but this could be an assertion of a loader animation no longer existing, API request responding, element appearing, and so on. So add these guarding assertions to your test, these little checkpoints, and you will write a much more stable test automation. All right, let's move on to another example. And we're going to discuss network flakiness. So in this example, we have a very simple to-do app. And in this in this test, we want to be adding a new to-do item. So what we will do is we're going to visit the application. Then we're going to check whether there are 0 items. Then we're going to add a new to-do item. And then we're going to check that there is exactly 1 to-do item. But as you might have guessed, there's a
Excuse me, I think you're muted. Philip, you're muted.
yeah, I don't know how that happened. Sorry.
It's
How
okay.
long was I muted for?
For like few seconds.
Few seconds. All right, good. Thanks for letting me know. All right, so I'll just move 1 bullet point backwards, so I'm absolutely sure that you have heard me. All right, so there's a hidden problem when it comes to playing nicely with our network, a hidden problem with this test. Along the test run, when our test is running, there are 2 moments when API call is being made. One happens when we load the application. We have a GET request that will get all of the to-dos from our database. And then we have a POST request, which happens when we are creating that to-do item. So as soon as we hit enter, the POST request is triggered. And this test that I'm showing you is going to be flaky because we ignore this communication in our test. Let me show you what goes on in our test. So imagine this is a timeline of our test, right? We have a CY visit, the opening of the application at the very beginning, and we have an assertion that checks that there are no items in our list. That's the second command we run. So the items get loaded from the API after we do the visit, when the app opens. But there's a problem that occurs because that request actually takes a little time. So what might happen is that we're doing the second command, the get to do item should have length 0. We're going to do it way too early. We're going to do it before our response will come back. And obviously, if we cannot have only one item in our list at the end of a test if the response returns anything else than 0. So if there are some to-do items in the database, that's going to return, then we create one, and then the assertion at the end of a test where we check that there's exactly 1, that's going to fail. So an answer to this type of flakiness is obviously not ignoring the network layer, and one of the solutions that you can see here is intercepting the API request and then waiting for it. But in this case, we could maybe go even a level further. Since we want to create the very first item, we can mock the empty state like we do here with the empty array. And this is one of the ways that we can eliminate network flakiness. And there's obviously more, but the bottom line is when it comes to network layer, it should not be ignored, especially if we want to avoid flakiness. All right, so let's now move on to the second axis. Let's talk about the flakiness that happens from the way our tests are being executed. So let me give you an example. You probably know that when writing tests, they should not have side effects to other tests. So in this example, we have Cypress, and it does a pretty good job of isolating tests. Every it block has its own cookies, its local storage. Even an empty page is open briefly in between the tests to avoid any side effects. And in my experience as a consultant, I still see people trying to create tests that depend on each other. And this is just flaky by design, because you're creating a situation when if a test fails, if a test fails, then the second one is not even run because of some sort of outside factor. And normally I would recommend splitting these tests into different specs. So here we have a create item, edit item, and delete item. But you may then point out that splitting these tests into their own specs might also create these problems once you decide that you want to run them in parallel. So if these spec files, if these tests are going to run on different machines, on different parallel processes, they still might be affecting each other, right? So let's say you have a single testing account where you that you want to run your tests with, and while you're running your tests one by one, nothing serious would happen, but as the test suite grows, you realize you should probably run your tests in parallel, and that's where the trouble will happen. So if a resource is created on one machine, then the test that edits that resource is running on a second machine, and then the one that deletes is running on third machine. There are various problems that can arise, especially when it comes to the order in which these tests are executed. So depending on how these tests run, you may encounter flakiness. Either we are deleting an item before we are able to edit it, or we try to delete a non-existing item, or we just create an item way too late. In any case, debugging something like this can be a huge nightmare. So my number one advice is that even if you don't run your test in parallel today, you should start designing your tests in a way that they can be isolated when the day comes. So to do that, you can think of the common denominator that your test should have in order to make those tests separated on separate machines. So, for example, if you're testing an e-commerce site, you should make sure that a parallel processes don't share the same customer account. So if you run on 3 different machines, you should have 3 different customer accounts so they don't interfere with each other. Another common problem when it comes to flakiness are infrastructure issues. It is not uncommon that when you're running your test automation, it happens on a staging server, and the performance of that server is just way too low compared to production. And the funny thing is that even without running your test in parallel, your test automation can actually become sort of a load test. So in one of the companies I have worked with, we were using a testing account, and that testing account would have thousands of resources on it because we would be running those tests over and over. And all of these API endpoints that you see here would contain way too much data. So simply just opening the application and make the front end fetch those resources was something that made the backend work extra hard. And since our tests were nice and granular, which is essentially a good thing, we would end up opening the application pretty often. But we were pretty much like DDoSing our staging server by opening this huge account with tens and hundreds assets and opening it tens and hundreds times a minute. So one of the quick fix solutions that I have used in the past, as many tests started failing, was to include a default command timeout when the test failed. This was based on the assumption that maybe the API responses got slower and the whole application needed a little more time for the elements to render and so on. Now, I wouldn't call this an ideal solution, but maybe you could call it a pragmatic solution. Either way, the problem at hand, the huge testing account, needed to be solved, ideally by cleaning up the data. So when designing a test suite, there's often a debate on whether you should clean up your data after the test or before the test. And I generally lean towards cleaning up the data before the test if you want to avoid flakiness. But here's my take. I'm pretty sure that it should happen outside of testing. You can, for example, create a cron job that will clean up the data created by tests. You can seed your database before for example, if you're using a Docker. And also, you can take care of the data that you're testing on. So make sure you have monitoring set up for your testing environment to keep it nice and healthy. So let's now move on to the final axis of individual test performance, and that's individual test performance. So as you scale up, flakiness can become more prominent on an individual test level. So let's talk about dry principle. There's one very popular way of optimization, and that's just using the dry principle. And I have to say, I'm not really the biggest fan of this principle when it comes to testing. And my friend David might actually have said it the best: dry does not belong into test. And I could probably do a talk and a half on why I think you should probably use less abstraction than you already do in your test code. But I'll just say that overusing abstractions in your test can lead to harder debugging and maintenance. Test code should be descriptive, so it should describe the app's behavior. And I've seen way too many instances of code being optimized for abstraction over being optimized in order to be maintainable. But I still think there is a grain of truth in the dry principle. If you want to avoid writing flaky tests, you should not be repeating yourself, but you should not be repeating yourself in test execution. So what I mean by that? Here's an example, and for years I've been saying that, for example, the page object model is not the ideal pattern, mostly because it encourages people to overdo it with abstractions, overuse UI, and repeat the same set of actions over and over. So for example, here, if your application uses a login, there's a good chance most of your tests are going to require to do the login. And usually, if you're writing page object, if you're sticking to the page object model, the login page object might be the first page object that you create. And in my example, what I'm doing, I'm using Cypress, so I'm using a custom command, but the idea is pretty much the same as with page object model. We sort of abstract a certain functionality into its own module and then use it in our test. So you can see that at the top is my abstraction, and at the bottom there's the abstraction being used, the CY login command. And while our code is written with a dry principle in mind, the execution is actually repetitive and slow. We do visit, we enter the email, we enter the password, landed on the proper page, right? And we do that for test 1, 2, and 3. We always go through UI. And there is actually a danger of flakiness that can happen with this. Not only because we are going through UI every time we open a test, but also if your application uses some protection against login attacks and brute forcing attacks such as CAPTCHA, you might run into a problem where your tests might not even execute. So my number one advice on how to solve this, and I see this not being so popular still, is that you should cache the browser state. So many testing tools already have this. I'm showing an example in Cypress, but Playwright has this as well. And the approach is that you can create a snapshot of your browser after you successfully logged in. So instead of loading every time, you load just once, then take a snapshot of all the cookies and local storage and session storage, etc. And then reuse that snapshot for every other test. So in this example, we are now just logging inside the first test, and then we restored from cache in the second and third test. This is the best way to work with logging in your test, and it will reduce execution time, and it of course will also reduce flakiness. So finally, let's talk about test idling. This refers to any time the test is simply just waiting. So you probably know that you should avoid hard waiting as much as possible. But as we know, there are many instances where waiting is just inevitable, right? In any case, avoiding explicit waiting should be used whenever possible, and instead you should use timeouts instead. I recently made a video of timeouts in WebDriver.io, so if you're interested in that, you can look into that. But all of the testing frameworks nowadays have some concept of timeout or fluid wait. I forgot what it is called in Selenium, but Cypress and Playwright have this WebDriver.io as well. So you can think of timeouts as the upper limits for a test failure. So compared to explicit wait, which just going to wait and sit there for a set amount of seconds. That being said, you should avoid trying to set those limits too high, because that can make your whole test execution very slow, especially if you have multiple tests that have failed. So instead, what you should do is to set your default timeout at a very low time, like 3 or 4 seconds, and then be more granular when it comes to single tests. So if you have a flaky test or a test that is testing part of the application that is particularly slow, then add your default command timeout there, or increase the default command timeout just for that test. Also, one of the most common areas that causes the test to be idle and where we usually resort to waiting a little bit more is the first page load. So once a page is loaded, most applications operate relatively smoothly, but the beginning, when we open the application, that can be a little bit messy. And that can result in more test flakiness. So the easiest way to make sure that your page is loaded is by checking the DOM. And as the example here shows, you can wait for the loader animation to disappear. And once that is gone, we can probably go forward with our test. There's a slightly more thorough approach to wait, and that is looking into the network calls. So as your application opens, it tries to load all these assets, and we can wait for those to happen. So, for example, you can wait for a certain API to happen and only then proceed with your test. There's also multiple ways of how this can be taken even further. For example, this example shows how you can wait for a whole array of API calls. And of course, you may not want to name all of the API calls, especially if there's like many of them. So you can choose an approach that is slightly more loose and wait for all of the requests. There's just one small caveat, and that is that the should command in the example will usually need to be set up for a longer timeout. So this is explicitly an example from Cypress, but if you want to do something like that, then watch out for the timeout for should command. All right, so going back to the 3 axes of test automation, I think it is valuable to look at the type of flakiness that you're dealing with, whether it is sourced by raising number of tests, the x-axis, the way of how they're executed, the y-axis, or simply by performance of the test automation script. Flakiness should be something that you should always watch for. Lastly, don't forget about the fact that you're trying to integrate 2 systems together, and that the test automation is in essence a challenge of making sure that your test and your app play well together. My name is Filip Hrits. Thank you very much for having me. You can scan this QR code and connect with me on your favorite social network, or follow me on my GitHub, where you can also find this presentation with all of the examples. And if you like the Cypress tips, I actually have a new course coming out. That's the code that is right over here. Yeah, you can scan that to check that out. And I'm really looking forward to the Q&A part and answering all of your questions. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much, Philip. So we have received 2 questions for you. First is, given that we have a significant number of flaky tests, which one should we prioritize fixing first? Do you have any recommendations on the best approach to start addressing them?
I think there are a couple of ways of how you can try to approach the situation where you have many flaky tests. The place where I work at right now has a metric and tries to record how many times a given test has failed, or rather how many pull requests has it affected, right? So if developers cannot merge because of flaky tests, then that's obviously a bad situation. So you go with the ones that are most flaky. And you should have some kind of metric around that. But that's my recommendation. And if you don't have that, you should seriously consider like trying to measure how flaky a flaky test is.
Thank you. The next question would be, would it be acceptable to validate element visibility instead of accuracy, exact text match, to reduce the test flakiness caused by test data?
I'm trying to read the question again. I mean,
Shall I repeat it for you?
Yeah. No, I have it in front of me. I'm trying to make sure that I understand the question. So the element visibility and text accuracy, I think they're like very different assertions. And it's important to, so tools like Cypress and Playwright can determine if an element is visible within the viewport, right? The thing is, when you only check for a certain text, then there might be a problem where that text exists on the page, but the element that has that text is not visible. So understanding how different assertion works, I think might be really helpful here. Hopefully I answered the question. If not, feel free to reach out to me and elaborate a little bit more.
All right. The next question would be, using a snapshot of the browser to avoid re-login is quite new to me. Does using a snapshot of the browser introduce caching issues in your tests?
No, not really. So it doesn't introduce any caching problems because the example I've shown is from Cypress, but the same idea is present in Playwright, and I hope it will make its way soon to WebDriver IO and Selenium as well. So the idea, if you think about it, when you log into your Facebook or Twitter or whatever, right, and then you close the browser and open it, you're still logged in. Why is that? It's because the information about you being logged in was stored in your data. So the next time you go to Facebook or whatever page you want, the information from your browser is sent to server, validated, and that page will then decide, all right, you're still logged in, you're still the same user. Or it will say, oh, actually, I don't know who you are, so we're going to send you to the login page. And it's the same principle with our test automation. We can take that storage and then put it back into the browser. It is, in my opinion, is the best way, and it's actually not only my opinion, but I truly believe it is the best way to handle login, because it really resembles how a real login works in real life, but you're making the test automation faster, right? If you think about it, a real user is not going to log in every time they open a browser, right? The page remembers them being logged in, and you can use the same principle in the test automation. And the great thing is that it's much faster because you don't have to open the login page and put in your credentials over time. And tools like Cypress and Playwright will handle that for you. And I believe, like, even in other tools, if you were to program that, it would be like very easy to do so. The only caveat, the only maybe problematic part might be if your login session might expire. Then you need to program a little bit of your logic to make sure that the session is renewed or that the login is done again. But as I mentioned, Playwright and Cypress already have that, and actually have a way of making sure that if your login expires, it will rerun that login session again. But it is, I have never seen any problems with caching. So I very much encourage you to explore that and go for it.
We have 2 more questions. Do you think using some AI tool like Blackbox AI kind of tools to Cypress automation? And what is the best dependency to generate a report with Cypress?
Yeah, so I'll answer the first question as the first. So I don't have experience with Blackbox AI. The way I look at AI in terms of test automation is that I haven't seen too many examples where the AI at runtime, like trying to generate tests with AI, would really work. But where I've seen it work really well is to help me create the test automation I want, right? So writing tests takes time, and we all know that AI can help us speed things up, right? We can be much faster because we have these awesome code generator tools, and we have Copilot, and we have Cursor, and it can autocomplete a bunch of stuff for us. So it's making me faster, and that has been a really great experience for me. So I think this is the area where AI shines and can be really good. I'm not sure about the whole test generation or test execution thing, although there are solutions out there. I'm looking at them and I'm trying to be like try to see where they go. So we'll see. The second answer, what's the best dependency to generate a report with Cypress? I don't know. I have tried many of them. I liked the Cypress Cloud Service, although it is definitely at the more pricey side. The debugging capabilities are really good. But the second best choice I would think would probably be something like Mocha Awesome, or even the plugin Cypress Split has a pretty good capabilities when it comes to reporting into your GitHub actions. So I'd recommend that, but other than that, I don't have vast experience with different Cypress test reporters.
Thank you so much, Philip, for your time and for that insightful session.
No problem. It was a pleasure being here, and thank you for all the amazing questions.
Thank you. And with that, we wrap up day 2 of Quality Week 2025. A huge thank you to our incredible speakers, Buddhika Tilakaratne, Saneth Abekon, Dulanga Veragama, and Philip Rick, for sharing their valuable insights today. Each session provided us with practical knowledge and innovative approaches to testing and quality assurance. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for being such an engaged audience. We hope you found today's session valuable and they inspire you in your testing and development journey. A big thank you to 99X, our strategic partner, and SLSTB, our educational partner. Your support has been invaluable and we truly appreciate it. Your feedback matters to us a lot. Please take a moment to complete the feedback form. It helps to enhance future events and create even better experience for you. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow for more exciting discussions. Until then, have a great evening. Good night. Thank you.